Grab a cup of joe, buckle up, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Let's get rolling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rhythm of the Road podcast, and welcome to whatever day ending in Y it is for you. I just want to say thank you quickly for all of those who have been listening, who have been watching, who have been tuning in, who have been leaving comments down below on the YouTube videos, and who have been leaving reviews on Apple and iHeartRadio and Spotify and Deezer and all those other 100 places that the audio podcast goes. Thank you. I appreciate you. And today is kind of a perfect thing to talk about because we're talking about podcasting. And yes, this is the next episode in the Power of Podcasting series. And I thought I'd take a little bit different spin, swing. I don't know. You pick what version you want it to be for your favorite cliche saying. But today I wanted to talk about like how to not suck at being a guest when you're on a podcast, right? So often I've been giving tips like when you're the host and how you're building a podcast and what are the recording tips and what things should you think about and what content can we make and where are we going and why are you even doing a podcast? But on the flip side of that is sometimes you're a guest on a podcast, and if you're building a brand or you're selling a product or you're doing a thing, really, I recommend you get on as many podcasts as you can. And as you have available in capacity for, it gives you the chance to talk to other people and get in front of other audiences. And the win for that is it's the one-to-many sort of idea. No different than being the podcast host, you have an opportunity to be the one-to-many. Also, as a guest, you can be the one-to-many. And I just thought I'd come on here, give some tips on what it means so that you don't suck when you go and be a guest on your next podcast. And maybe as the podcast host, you can think about how do I support my guests and how do I make sure that they show up and do their best when they get here, right? So rule number one, show up on time. Show up when you said you're going to book the appointment to do the podcast interview for. That seems so simple, but I can't tell you how many of my clients and how many of my friends who are podcast hosts tell me all the time, like, I had a no-show today. Like, I can't put my head around that. So if you're a guest, just show up, preferably on time, but at least do the favor of showing up because that host blocked out that time for you to share his audience or her audience with you. So show up and be on time. That's number one. Number two, provide them with something that's of value in terms of a bio and a headshot and some marketing pieces so that they feel good and confident to promote this episode that is really about you. And I know one thing that I do with my guests is tell them when we get on before we even hit record or the little red button, which we are going to hear about very soon in a future episode of Rhythm of the Road podcast. Hint, hint, time block and block record your episodes. All right, we're back to the show. Now, as you're doing that, you want to show up, be on time. You want to give them something worth promoting. You're coming on their podcast. So I'll tell my guests, like, we're here to have a conversation. I want to learn a little bit about you, but we're really here to have a conversation. And those are the ones that honestly go the best. I love one of my favorite episodes is with my awesome friend, Kenny, who's an amazing radio DJ, Flip Flops and Beer. So make sure you check out that show. Wednesday nights, Sandcastle Radio. You're not going to want to miss that. But we just got on here and had a conversation. And honestly, it's my number one episode out of all 73 episodes that are now out. It's my number one episode. And we weren't doing anything special than legitimately showing up on a Friday night. I remember recording this. We're like, let's do a digital happy hour and let's, record a podcast. So that's what we did. And it was brilliant and it was awesome, right? That's showing up as a good guest because that's exactly what I asked for. And as you're showing up as that guest and you're having that conversation, provide some value. Don't be like sell, right? Not that this is a sales training podcast, because if you all know me, I'm not like some huge, crazy, over the top, in your face salesperson, but I can tell you that stories and conversations are going to sell you and your brand or your product or your service or whatever you're bringing to a marketplace, better than anything else, right? So just show up and do that. Provide some value, and then just have a conversation and be a real person. Because so often in this highlight reel of a world we live in terms of social media and content creation, showing up and just being a real person on podcast, it's the best. I love it. I show up and I'm on video, like, and most of you will notice, like, most of the time I'm just wearing a hoodie. And if you know me, that's where I like to live. I prefer the beach, which I'm finding this is a really nice beach hoodie. And why do you wear a hoodie at the beach? Well, it gets cool in the evening after you've been in the sun all day. So you got to have something cool and chill and warm to sit in the evening. I digress. There's another tip. Stay on topic. Don't go so far off into the weeds that the host is like, is this person going to ever come back? Like, I wonder if they even know that they're talking to another human being, right? Remember, it's a conversation. It's not a one-way ticket for you to like punch in and talk for 35 or 40 or 50 minutes and then stop and then allow the host to step in and be part of that conversation, right? So stay on topic, show up, be on time, give them something that they can use to promote your items and your conversation. Make sure it's of high quality. When you're there, provide some value, tell some stories, share some things about you, be authentic, because that is going to tell or share or sell whichever thing that you're trying to accomplish when you go onto it, that you do it well. And as you do all those things, decide beforehand how maybe you want to show up on that podcast. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? I can tell you when I'm on a podcast as a guest, I'm always just like, what do you want? What does your audience need? And let me bring that. That is going to open up a whole lot of doors and a whole lot of conversations with that podcast host you could have never thunk were available. And that podcast host is going to be very grateful because they're going to know that you can ask questions and hold a conversation rather than them trying to pull teeth. And we'll do a how to be a good host on another episode and another part of this series. However, we're on the guest today. And the last part of that is say thank you. Say thank you. They took the time. They're offering up their audience, their platform, their messaging to you. Say thank you. And then when you're done, find out when it's going to release and then actually share that thing out. Share it to your audience, because not only are they introducing you to their audience and bringing you into their space, it's supposed to be reciprocal, like conversations, like relationships. So next time you're a guest, remember, it is your job to actually promote that episode after you're done and you release it. Let me repeat that. It is actually your job when you are a guest on a podcast to promote and at least share that out to your audience. Why would you not want your audience to know that you're out doing podcasts and interviewing other folks and being part of conversations? That legitimizes you. It builds your brand authority. It builds your authenticity in terms of your content creation. Plus, if they're a good podcast host and they have a good production team like we do at Box 7 Media, ding, then they're going to provide you with some content that you can use to share. So you don't have to create anything. All you have to do is post it and share it and tell some folks about it. How is that any different than what you're probably already doing every single day? So show up on time, show up, provide some tools and means at the front end with some bio, and show up, be on time, provide some information up front, some biographical information, something about you, something about your company or brand, provide some sort of media. So whether it be a headshot or some logos or pieces like that, so that as you're having that conversation, the host has stuff to pull from. Bring value to the conversation. Don't just be a monologue, 40-minute, you're spewing to an audience and a camera. Make sure that you're having that conversation and being authentic. And then at the end of it, say thank you. Say thank you. And to close that all out, make sure you go back and you share it once you know when that thing is posted and is available to everyone. Share it. Use the content that they're giving you and make sure that you keep pushing that out, because it's your message too. I know often what we will do is make sure that if there's a guest on a show, that we make sure the micro content is actually focused around the guest. So it's in your best interest to continue to share those. If you want more tips, if you want to learn more about how to be a good guest, how to be a good host, how to create a podcast, how to start a podcast, or if you already have one, if you want to know how to make it better, make it reach a bigger, larger audience, or if you want to take it to YouTube and make it your own channel and have your own TV show, so to speak, send me a message. Go to box7media.com, send us a message. We'd love to chat with you a little bit more so that you don't suck next time you are a guest on a podcast. And I'll see you down the road.
Thanks for cruising with me on this episode of Rhythm of the Road. Remember, the journey itself is the destination. Until next time, keep the rhythm flowing, and we'll see you down the road.